All right, this is the case about a damaged windshield caused by a baseball. We have Ms. Joan Morris present as the plaintiff, Mr. Alvaro Rodriguez, and Mr. Raymond Rivas, the team manager, present for the defense. Let's get it on and get it decided. Ms. Morris, let me hear your side of this, ma'am.
Judge, I must say I'm so glad that my children and I are alive today. But I'm also angry. On August 23rd, I was taking my children to Sunday school, which I believe is the place where they ought to be, when a ball being hit by Mr. Rodriguez over here struck my windshield. I stopped the van. I was so frightened. First of all, I stopped the van, came out, walked over to the field. I was ignored. They said, no English. I said, fine. Well, when the police comes here, then you'll learn some English. I was so afraid that I was totally ignored. No one wanted to be accountable for what was done.
Let me ask you a question, Ms. Morris. In relation to the field, the baseball field, where was the road that your car was driving down? Were you driving your car down?
The field is here, and the road was right next to it.
Well, let me ask you this: was it a foul ball that came off the bat, or did somebody intentionally throw the ball at your car? How did the ball get to your car, if you know?
Well, I had assumed that it was a foul ball that was hit, but then with attitude, I don't know if they meant to throw it at the van.
Okay, hold on one second. Mr. Rodriguez, did you hit the baseball, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
When Ms. Morris came to to check out what had happened and to find out where the ball had come from, did you tell her you couldn't speak English?
No, Your Honor.
What happened?
There was a group of guys on that side of the fence. I was at bat. The guys that were there, they didn't speak no English. When she came up to them, you know, I was at bat still because it was a foul ball. You know, they started arguing with her. They started yelling. You know, I said, hold on.
No, there was no yelling going on. There was no yelling. No, there was no yelling going on.
Everybody, hold on. Ms. Morris did not talk to Mr. Rodriguez. You couldn't get it straight before. He couldn't get it straight with you, so now you're in front of me. Don't talk to each other. Go ahead. You say you were at bat. How many times did you play at that field before, sir?
That was my first time, Your Honor.
First time. And what type of team do you have? Is it a semi-pro team or amateur team?
Amateur.
Right. That's what I need to know right now. Okay, it's Mr. Ramon Rivas. You're the team manager. Please, sir.
It was an accident, and she happened to drove by, and the ball flew and hit the windshield.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Ms. Morris, the people that you talked to, that you say said they couldn't speak English, they didn't speak English, was it Mr. Rodriguez or somebody else?
No, it was not Mr. Rodriguez. It was someone else.
Okay. Mr. Rivas, when this lady came to the ball diamond to speak, try to find out what happened, did she encounter people who refused to speak to her, who claimed they couldn't speak English?
No, she just asked anybody from the other side of the team.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, please. It's your position that, yes, there was a foul ball.
Yes.
And it was hit off the bat of Mr. Rodriguez, and it did hit her windshield.
Right.
So there's no question about that.
Well, I didn't see the ball hit the...
Well, you'll take the word for it. You'll take the word for it?
Yes.
Okay. So now we know that for the purposes of our lawsuit, that one, you were driving your car where you had a right to be. They were playing baseball where they had a right to play. That Mr. Rodriguez was at the plate. A foul ball came off the bat and struck your car, and there's damage. That we know.
Yes.
Now, do you have an estimate, please, ma'am, about damage to your car?
And I also had pictures also.
I thank you very much, ma'am.
And I had the police report.
Right.
That Mr. Rivas did state that they were going to be accountable for the damages.
Mr. Rivas, I want to read something to you and see if you agree with this. It's signed by the officer's name, Mohaya, and it says, quote, responded to above location on vandalism to an auto. We, the officers, spoke to Raymond Rivas, the manager of the team, who related they would take care of the damage to the vehicle. Is that you tell the policeman that?
I didn't tell him that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Your Honor. Yes,
just a
you
minute.
did.
Well, did somebody tell the police that? I mean, it's in the police report.
Your Honor, if you didn't...
Well,
Just a minute, please. I'm asking Mr. Rivas a question. Mr. Rivas, did somebody tell the police that?
I told them that I would take care of being in there, that I was the manager of the team. That's not our fault that if the ball hit the windshield we're supposed to pay for.
But it is your fault, though. I mean,
Well,
I didn't throw the ball out.
Hold on a minute. Look, hey, what part of don't talk to her don't you understand? Okay? Talk to me. Now, let me tell you where we are. First, we know that Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Rivas and their team had a lawful right to play in the ballpark. We know that. We know that Ms. Morris had a lawful right to drive her car down the road, which she was doing. And I'm very happy that your children weren't injured, and I can understand your concern and your anger at somebody, a baseball, hitting the windshield of your car. No question about that. So what we have is we have two people doing exactly what they had a right to do, and an accident, everybody agreed that it's an accident, occurs, and now we're left with who should bear the responsibility for making the economic responsibility for the accident. Now, I want to think about it for about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. We'll be in recess briefly.
A woman's van windshield was hit by a softball. Was it the batter's error? The judge is about to rule.
This is a difficult case for me because, and I'm trying to explain my decision, and I hope it's understood by everybody that's here. Ms. Morris, you're a upfront, good person. You've done the right thing. You've come to court to air your grievance, and I understand exactly how you feel. And I take it, Mr. Morris, you're this lady's husband. You're lucky to have a wife like this. I can tell you right now without knowing any more about it than what I've seen right now. I'm finding as a fact that every party had a right to be where they were, and I find as a fact that the unfortunate injury to the car was an accident. Now, if it were intentional, there'd be no question the Morrises would prevail. There'd be no question about that. If it were me, I like to think that I would tell Ms. Morris, get an estimate and we'll meet you halfway. I like to think I would do that because I think that's the right thing to do. But whether or not it's the right thing to do is really not before me. In my opinion, where both parties are where they have a right to be, where there's an unfortunate accident which gives rise to injury, and no party has any fault, the question is, in society today, what do we do about it? We play baseball, thank God we do, and we play football, and we play ice hockey, and we play basketball, and we box, and we keep ourselves doing things that ought to be done. And every now and again something happens that's just unfortunate. I don't believe that Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Rivas should be held legally responsible for what happened, but I think you owe the money. I think you ought to meet her halfway. I think you ought to pay half. And if I were you, gentlemen, I would cough it up, and I'd say we will pay half the damage. But I cannot in this case find that an unfortunate accident gives rise to recovery, and therefore judgment is for the defendant. But I tell you, Ms. Morris, you're a good person. If I were you, Mr. Rivas, I'd pay half. But I cannot find that way. I find for the defendant.
This wasn't an easy one. The judge says this wasn't intentional, it was an accident, and rules for the defendant. And when we come back, we'll take a look at what's coming up on the next Judge Mills Lane.